Walker Buehler shoved in his Red Sox spring training debut. Why he's a player to be really excited about heading into the 2025 season.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's free, so you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets right now if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Monday from beautiful Southwest Florida, aka Fort Myers, home of the Boston Red Sox spring training facility, JetBlue Park. And I have been down here for the last few days, and I have had an absolute blast being able to go watch the Red Sox play at their home away from home down south here in Florida. Not only has the weather been absolutely perfect, 80 degrees and sunny with not a single cloud in the sky, but also the experience has been amazing. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that my background is a little bit different because it's a hotel room and not my usual recording space with all of my Red Sox stuff. And you can also see that I have developed a really nice tan and have gotten a ton of sun. So definitely have been making the most of the experience. And if you have never been down to spring training, I highly recommend you making the trip at some point because it's a ton of fun and it really makes you feel like you're at Fenway because JetBlue Park is built really similar to Fenway. The Green Monster is a little bit different slightly, but overall it's generally built the exact same way as Fenway Park. And they still keep up with the Fenway traditions, like everybody singing Sweet Caroline in the middle of the 8th inning. So you really feel like you're at a game at Fenway, even though the weather is much warmer and you are down south in Florida. So lots of exciting things that have taken place in my time here, including getting to see Walker Buehler make his Red Sox debut on Sunday. So I'm going to be discussing that on today's show, as well as Yoshida making his spring debut. And is David Hamilton making a case for the starting second base position? So all of that to be discussed today. But Walker Buehler was a guy who, when coming to the Boston Red Sox, received some mixed feedback from the fans. There were some fans who were very excited about him, thinking about the fact that he was lights out in the World Series against the Yankees. And he's a guy who just has been very dominant overall throughout the course of his career. They were thinking about a guy who is a veteran who could provide some experience and leadership to a group that's very young currently with this Red Sox team, and a guy who knows what it's like to win. So there's a lot of benefits to having him in that regard. But the people who weren't as excited about him and might have been a little bit skeptical have to do a lot with the fact that he has had some injuries and he has had 2 Tommy John surgeries over the course of his career. So people are really hoping that he can stay healthy when he is in Boston. And for right now, he's on a 1-year deal with the Red Sox, but 2025 is a big prove it year for him because the $21.05 million deal that he has for the 1 year does not guarantee him anything past the 2025 season. So he has to pitch very well this year if he wants to ensure a contract for the next season, whether that's with the Red Sox or anybody else. And he is excited about the idea of being in Boston and of being able to call the Red Sox his team, at least for the foreseeable future. So he's going to go out there and he's going to give everything that he has to be able to succeed in Boston in 2025 and convince the front office that he's worth keeping around past this upcoming season, which is very exciting. And to kick things off for him, he made his spring training debut on Sunday. And while he may be in a new uniform, his stuff still looks familiar. The 30-year-old right-hander was able to go out there and pitch 2 innings on Sunday against the Mets, and he looked absolutely dominant. In the first inning, he did allow a double to Jeff McNeil to open things up, but then he got a ground out from Francisco Alvarez before striking out Jesse Winker on 3 pitches. He then hit Jose Siri on his first offering, but struck out Alexander Canario on 3 pitches. So he was able to work around the leadoff double, and also the fact that he hit a batter, he was able to get out of the inning unscathed without any runs scoring, which was huge to see. And then he looked even better in the second inning when he struck out Brett Baty looking, got Jared Young to ground out to first, and then struck out Jose Azocar. He pitched 2 strong innings, ultimately allowing 1 hit and recording 4 strikeouts. So he looked very good. It's really encouraging for the Red Sox. After returning from Tommy John surgery, he struggled during the regular season last year. In 16 starts, he went 1-6 with a 5.38 ERA, striking out 64, but walking 28 batters in 75 and a third innings pitched. He looked much better in the postseason as he went 1-1 in 4 appearances with a 3.60 ERA and 13 strikeouts against 5 walks in 15 innings. He got the save in Game 5 of the World Series, pitching the final inning as the Dodgers closed out the Yankees to win the title. So his postseason performances from 2024 are what we're hoping he'll carry into the 2025 season. And we're hoping that's the version of Buehler that we get, because the Red Sox did make a steep financial investment to add him to the rotation that also now includes Garrett Crochet. So if Walker Buehler has a good season, we're looking at a highly competitive starting rotation from the Red Sox. I did mention this on the show previously, but he is kind of the X factor when it comes to the Red Sox rotation right now. How he performs during the 2025 season is really going to make or break the entire outlook of this starting rotation, because you have guys like Tanner Houck and Brian Bayo and Cutter Crawford when he's healthy, who will hopefully continue to take strides in a positive direction in terms of their growth process within the Red Sox rotation. And Garrett Crochet is a guy that the Red Sox feel confident that they can get ace caliber material from. But Walker Buehler is still an unknown right now, and we don't really know what he's going to look like or what types of performances he's going to deliver for the Red Sox regularly. So I'm really excited to see him at least be given a shot come opening day to be an absolute stud in the rotation. And for him personally, he doesn't really have a choice but to be, because his contract is not secure for the next season. So if he's going to want to solidify that, he's going to have a good season on the mound. And his first spring training start was definitely a good indicator of that. His fastball was sitting about 96 to 97 miles an hour, which is good from a velocity standpoint. His command was there, and he looked like a guy who was ready to start the season. And if I'm looking at Walker Buehler, definitely looking at a guy who is going to have to stay on the field as his biggest X factor, because his stuff is definitely still there. That is from a pitcher who has been a star with the Dodgers in the past. So he definitely still has the stuff to be able to dominate with the Boston Red Sox. It's just a matter of, can he stay on the field all season long? Because I truly feel like if he stays on the field, there are not a lot of major concerns about him. Obviously, it's one spring training start, so it's a small sample size. But with a guy like him who's coming off of the postseason that he did, and the expectations that are on him to have that type of performance again going into the season, it's a really sure sign that his first outing was a really good one, because I'm hoping he can replicate that performance and at least have similar ones as the rest of spring training progresses. He still has a strong arsenal of pitches that he was able to pull out and use in that start. So definitely very promising things from him. And if he can keep his velocity at what it's at and even increase it slightly more, he can be a really dominant pitcher in a Red Sox rotation that could absolutely use it, because 100% it makes or breaks where the team is at heading into 2025. So I enjoyed watching him pitch in person I really liked his delivery to the plate, quick delivery, and he looked confident out there. He looked like a guy who was going out there with experience and wanted to say, hey, look at me. I'm still here and I'm still ready to dominate this upcoming season. And that's what I really appreciate about Walker Buehler is the work ethic that he provides and the way that he was able to go out there and just get the job done and not worry about anything else. And he was throwing in that game in a way where he felt like he was making a point to Red Sox Nation that he's here and he's ready to go. So hopefully that results in some good performances from him as we get closer and closer to the regular season starting. And a lot of guys do elevate in terms of their velocity over the course of the spring as they're still feeling things out. And this was his first time throwing in live game action with the Boston Red Sox. So there's definitely still time for him to continue to get that velocity up to exactly where he wants it to be, but definitely promising things from him going into opening day as the Red Sox get closer and closer to that. And coming up, I'm going to be discussing another player who has been very much in the conversation of where's he going to play in 2025. So I'm going to be touching on that a little bit. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I love FanDuel because it's a great opportunity to make lots of money. And I've seen it happen firsthand for people where they go and they bet on a lot of different sports and they're able to really maximize how much money they're making. And it really helps to set you up for success by giving suggestions on what you should bet on as well. So if you're looking to start making some extra pocket cash, FanDuel is the first place you should look, because if you download the app today and start formulating those parlays, you can see immediate results from FanDuel. So definitely download the app as you're listening to this show. Masataka Yoshida, a name that has been brought up over the course of the offseason in terms of what is his role going to look like in 2025 for the Boston Red Sox, because last year he was primarily a designated hitter. He spent basically no time at all in the outfield because his defense is a liability and the Red Sox just don't trust him to be able to play good defense consistently. So they kind of just made him the regular DH. But the problem now is that because the Red Sox brought in Alex Bregman, who may play second or may play third, depending on how things go the rest of the spring. The Red Sox have not made a decision on that yet. That leaves a question mark when it comes to Yoshida, because if Alex Bregman starts the season at third base, then that means that the Red Sox would have Rafael Devers primarily be the designated hitter, and he'd be getting more reps at that position. So then where does that leave Yoshida? Does he kind of just become an odd man out who ends up spending a lot of time on the bench because the Red Sox feel like they don't have room for him? That would be tough with how much money that they are paying him to basically swallow that up and say, okay, we're paying Yoshida a lot of money to sit on the bench. I don't think they want to do that, and that's definitely not an ideal result for the Red Sox right now. But as they think about positions and who's going to play where, he did make a case in his spring debut to feel like he could still have a regular everyday spot in this lineup. He's entering his third major league season after a strong run in Japan, and he provided that reminder in his first game of spring training on Sunday that he can still add value when he's in the batter's box, which is going to make some of those conversations between the Red Sox front office members about who's playing where very interesting. He was slowed in the early weeks of camp as he completes his rehab from a labral tear in his right shoulder, which required a major surgery, according to Alex Cora. But he made a grand entrance as he stepped to the plate with the bases loaded in the bottom of the first inning in Boston's 6-4 win over the Mets on Sunday at JetBlue Park. On the first pitch he saw from right-hander Paul Blackburn, he slashed a ground rule double into the corner in right field. He said, regardless of that result, I was able to hit the first pitch of my first at-bat. He also added a single to center in his next at-bat. So he was really crushing the ball in that game. He said, so it just felt great. So he was really happy to be out there and that he was able to add a couple solid hits to the Red Sox long list of hits in the 2 games over the weekend that they played that I was able to see in person. So he was just happy to get back out there and that he was able to be impactful. While it still remains to be seen how he fits, whether that's left field, DH, or potentially a combination of both on a roster that's much deeper than when he arrived 2 years ago, Cora will still find time for his bat in the lineup. There is no certainty that the Red Sox will put Yoshida on the roster for opening day, though, because he is still in the early stages of a throwing program. Cora said he's still at 45 feet. That's not too much, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So basically, there are no guarantees. Yoshida said, I'm trying to be ready by opening day, and I'm just fired up to be ready by opening day. But Cora does have a roster and a lineup forming in his mind. He's just not ready to make it public. He said, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to share it with you guys. But we have to make sure everything happens. It's too early in spring to announce anything. It's March 2nd. We've still got kids getting their first at-bats here. We'll get there when we get there. Like I said, versatility is huge for me. And athleticism, that's very important to me too. We've just got to make sure we're healthy and we're getting there. So Cora didn't really give any indication of what he's thinking about for Yoshida, but if he still puts together some solid at-bats throughout the spring, the Red Sox are going to want to find a way to put his bat into the lineup, even if that means maneuvering some other things and moving around other players to make room for him in the lineup. But that was only his first spring training game, so obviously it's hard to know what he's going to actually be come the season. And even through the rest of the spring, what's he going to look like offensively? Did he just have a good game, or is he really ready to go? And is he going to be effective at the plate moving forward? So that's going to be something that I'm looking for as the rest of spring training progresses, is what do Yoshida's plate appearances look like? Is he able to maximize those at-bats to find a way to get himself on base? For Yoshida, getting healthy has been a lengthy process. His labrum started bothering him at the beginning of September in his rookie year of 2023, and he played through the discomfort all of last season when he was used exclusively as a DH. So we're hoping that if he's healthy going into 2025, that he can maximize his swing a little bit more and that we start to see some more consistently good results from him, because that injury could be what prevented him from absolutely breaking out in 2024 at the plate. In 248 career games and 1,001 plate appearances, Yoshida has a slash line of a 285 batting average, 343 on base percentage, and 433 slugging. Cora thinks there is more in there for him left in the tank because he saw what Yoshida was for a large chunk of his rookie season. From April 20th to July 31st of 2023, Yoshida had an 891 OPS over a chunk of 77 games and 341 plate appearances. And for a shorter spurt last season, he caught fire, slashing a 341 batting average, 405 on base percentage, and 514 slugging in 195 at-bats from June 30th to August 28th. Cora said this guy, throughout his career in Japan, he was able to hit and crush the ball. I don't think it was a bat speed problem or him hitting too many ground balls. It's a matter of, just like Rafi last year, he was banged up, but he posted. He did everything possible to be out there. Now we're going to get the healthy Masa, and I'm excited about that. I do believe he comes back to dominate the strike zone and drive the baseball, and that's going to be fun to watch. So Alex Cora is very confident in Yoshida's ability to come back in 2025 and have a big year, and basically was saying what I mentioned, that it was due to his injury primarily, that he didn't have as good of a 2024 season as people were hoping he would have. And so Cora's excited to see him go out there in 2025 and be able to make a huge impact offensively. And it sounds like Cora definitely has the kind of faith in him to where he wants him to be an everyday player in 2025. And if that's the case, then the Red Sox are going to have to make room for him. They're going to have to find a way to put the best lineup out there. And if that includes Yoshida at DH, then maybe that means that Devers plays third base and Bregman plays second. And maybe that is the reason why they decide to do what they do when it comes to the Bregman versus Devers situation, is because they feel confident enough in Yoshida to have him in the lineup every day. But if he starts to struggle throughout the rest of spring training, I don't really want the Red Sox to say, yeah, he's definitely a solution for us. He will be DHing the majority of the games, because you still, at the end of the day, want the Red Sox to put the best lineup out there and the guys who are going to give them the best opportunity to win games. And if that means having Devers DH and Bregman play third, then that's what you do. And when it comes to Yoshida, he definitely is aware of the situation and knows, okay, I have to play at my absolute best every single day throughout the rest of spring training if I want to make a case for being an everyday DH for this Red Sox team. And I do think that Yoshida would welcome more reps in the outfield. He was a little bit bummed that the Red Sox primarily took him out of the outfield in 2024, and he's hoping to, in 2025, get some more time in the outfield again. And while he's been rehabbing, he has been getting some outfield reps. So the Red Sox are definitely taking things one day at a time with him and not letting him do too much baseball activity at once without being sure that he's making the progress that he needs to be taking and that he can be ready for that type of workload. But what I will say is that I really liked that swing that he provided in his first spring training game. He definitely has a healthy swing out there, and he does look like he has been able to show a little bit more signs of positive activity at the plate. And it definitely has to do a lot with the fact that he's probably feeling relieved because he feels like things went smoothly for him in terms of his surgery and being able to recover from his injury. So he's probably really excited to go out there and be the version of Yoshida that the Red Sox are paying him to be. But the question is, how often are we going to see him out there? And we're going to have to see how things play out throughout the rest of spring training, which will help make that decision. And somebody who could be impactful in that decision is David Hamilton, who's certainly making a case for having the starting second base job. So coming up next, I'm going to be discussing him and why it could make sense for the Red Sox to have him start the season at second. Don't forget, Locked On Red Sox is available on any podcast platform, including YouTube. You can subscribe and get a new episode every day, as I am here daily discussing the latest going on with the Boston Red Sox. And whether I'm here in Florida or I'm back up in the Northeast, I am still providing that Red Sox coverage, and I look forward to continuing to give you new episodes each and every day. So be sure to continue to make it your first listen, and you can subscribe on any podcast platform to make sure that you are not missing out on any episodes. After listening to Locked On Red Sox, for your second listen, you can next check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Show with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew One. MLB fantasy draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is really helpful for you if you're playing fantasy baseball like me, because it'll help guide you through who to draft and putting the best team together. So I highly recommend listening to these guys. You can find them on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts right after you finish tuning in to Locked On Red Sox, which of course is still your first listen of the day. Is David Hamilton making a case for the starting second base job for the Red Sox? You certainly could argue that he might be, as he has made a big splash in spring training so far this year. He's had 12 at-bats so far for the Red Sox, and he has appeared in 5 spring training games. He has recorded 3 hits and scored 2 runs, and he has had a double and a home run in his resume to add from spring training. He has an RBI, 2 stolen bases, and 3 walks to go along with 2 strikeouts. He has a batting average so far of 250 in spring training, an on-base percentage of 400, a slugging percentage of 583, and an OPS of 983. So he definitely has made an impression, as he has made good contact with the baseball. And the biggest question right now surrounding second base is who's going to play it to start the season. Is it going to be Bregman at the end of the day, and then they'll just keep Devers at third base? Or are one of these younger players earning the opportunity to get that starting second base job? And with the young players who potentially could be playing second base besides David Hamilton, it really is Vaughn Grissom and Christian Campbell, who are the other 2 guys that could be in the running for that role. But Vaughn Grissom just has not showed a whole lot of anything during spring training so far. I do feel badly for him because it's been a tough go for him ever since he came to the Boston Red Sox in that Chris Sale trade. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And when he has been healthy, he hasn't been able to hit well consistently. And he hasn't really gotten yet to showcase fully what he can do in a Red Sox uniform. But he doesn't have a lot of time left. He's running out of time to show that he deserves a spot on the opening day roster for this team. And so far, what he's done in spring training has not really matched up with the type of results that the Red Sox would be looking for. Then there's Christian Campbell, who the Red Sox need to evaluate if they feel is ready to come up to the majors right away, or if he needs to start in AAA, because he is a guy who could be really special for the Red Sox moving forward. He plays both in the infield and in the outfield, so that definitely helps the Red Sox when it comes to positional situations, because if somebody's injured, they can always swap him around from playing in the outfield and playing in the infield. So that's another thing to be of note with here when it comes to Campbell. So he's going to be a cornerstone piece of the future for the Red Sox. It's just a matter of, do they want to rush him up to the majors to start 2025, or do they feel like he could use more time in AAA to really continue to develop before he gets called up? That is on the Red Sox to make that decision, and how he does with the rest of his spring is going to help determine that. But David Hamilton has put together some very productive at-bats, and not only that, but he also has his speed that he provided last year. That was a huge factor in his success in 2024, because he batted second a lot of the time after Jarren Duran when he was in the lineup, and Hamilton earned a lot more playing time in 2024 because of the fact that the Red Sox were dealing with injury after injury after injury, and eventually it caught up with them and they needed to start playing guys. So David Hamilton was one of those guys who slotted in pretty early on because of the fact that Trevor Story went down and they needed to try to fill some infield holes and maneuver that situation. So Hamilton got a ton of playing time in 2024, and we really saw that he has the advantage over everybody else on the team when it comes to his speed. He is likely the fastest player in the Red Sox organization right now, and he was able to use that speed along with Duran to be able to put pressure on opposing pitchers, because you knew if those two were on base, it was pretty much a given that they were going to try to steal bases, and they both were very fast. So as an opposing pitcher, it was hard to stay focused on whoever was at the plate at the time, because they were worried about those two stealing bases. So that's a huge benefit to David Hamilton's game that you don't really get from everybody. on this Red Sox team. So by not having Hamilton on the opening day roster with the major league team, you are losing a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to base stealing and just having that speed on the base path. So that's something with Hamilton that could help with his case as well, is the fact that he not only has provided that strong offense so far in spring training, but they also know that he has the speed to be able to rattle any pitcher that's on the mound at the time. So that's a really beneficial quality for a player to have. So the Red Sox do have a hard decision to make when it comes to this second base position. I mean, Hamilton has definitely done his fair share to be able to stay in that conversation. Last year, he had 294 total at bats with 73 hits and 8 home runs. He batted 248 with 47 runs scored, 28 RBIs, and 33 stolen bases to go along with a 303 on base percentage, 395 slugging, and 697 OPS. So he wasn't the best hitter on the team by any means, and he's also not much of a power hitter. He's not going to be a guy who's going to hit the ball 500 feet over the fence every game. But when he makes contacts, he's able to stretch singles into doubles, and he can beat out infield hits. So even if he's making lighter contact, because of the fact that he provides that speed, it allows him to be able to get himself on base and be effective, even if he's not absolutely crushing the ball. So obviously, come opening day, the Red Sox are going to have to feel confident enough in him in order to have him be a guy who is in that lineup. But it's definitely reassuring to know that this is a good problem for the Red Sox to have, because he is a guy who is fighting for a role with other very talented players too. So whoever the Red Sox do choose to start at second base, it will be a good player with talent. But I think people kind of wrote off David Hamilton a little bit and just assumed heading into spring training that the second base battle, if it wasn't going to be Bregman, was between Christian Campbell and Vaughn Grissom. But Hamilton is letting people know he's still here and he wants to earn a spot on the roster too. So he's a fun player to continue to watch throughout the rest of spring training, as I know I am looking forward to seeing how the second base thing plays out and who the Red Sox decide to go with at that position. But lots of good things over the weekend while the Red Sox are here in Florida, and I was able to be down here with them, and I can't wait to see them navigate the rest of their spring training schedule and get closer and closer to opening day, because life is just better when it's baseball season. That just is a fact. So I do appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen of every day. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.